So Jesus didn't want to walk in Galilee. Why? Because the Jews wanted to kill him. Does that pose a problem for anybody? Like, if somebody wanted to kill you, would you go hang with them? You'd be like, hey, let's go hang out. I know you want to kill me, but let's go play soccer. You know, let's go to McDonald's and get a hamburger. Let's go to the hot dog joint. Are there hot dog joints around? I think there's one in Attleboro. You guys don't like hot dogs. You don't know what you're missing. You don't know what you're eating either, but, you know, hey. So here's Jesus. He doesn't want to hang with the Jews too much. He's trying to be a little less public, which is hard to do because when you're walking around and you literally have tens of thousands of people following you, kind of throttling back and being a little less public is a little hard to do. But this is what Jesus is doing. And so if we were to continue reading in verse 2, now the Jews' Feast of Tabernacles was at hand. What is the Feast of Tabernacles? Joshua. They eat tabernacles. Okay, let's step back. Okay, Talara. Okay, no, it's not Passover. What is a tabernacle, other than a good name for a church, just not our church? Spurgeon had the Metropolitan Tabernacle. Great name. Cece, what's a tabernacle? Okay. Yes, but no. Fill in, answer here. Well, no, that's what I'm looking for you guys to fill in, answer here. What is not the tabernacle, but a tabernacle? Because the tabernacle was also a tabernacle. Hint, hint, hint. Titus? No. Cece? Yes and no, because God is omnipresent. Titus, you guys give up yet?
No. Was it the place where the high priest went to talk with God?
Okay, that was the tabernacle, which was a tabernacle. But I'm trying to figure out what a tabernacle is. Talara. Okay, that's the tabernacle, was the tent of meeting. A tabernacle was a very, very unpermanent one. A tabernacle is just a tent. It is just, so you have the tent of meeting. It was the tabernacle, was the tent where God set up his meeting place. And so, you know, as the children of Israel left Egypt, they were all living in tents because they were traveling every day. And they would break camp in the morning, and they would travel, and then they'd set up camp at night. So they were all living in tents, and so God set up his house as a tent, and it was just called the tabernacle as opposed to a tabernacle. And so the idea of a tabernacle is a non-permanent temporary covering, kind of like a tent, like a pup tent would be. You wouldn't want to live there, but overnight it works. And so the Feast of Tabernacles was a feast that the children of Israel observed for many years. And it was a time where even though they owned houses and lived in houses, they would live for a week in a tent because they wanted to remember the time that God brought them out of Egypt. And so there was a whole feast. And for a week, literally, they would build like little lean-tos on the roof or outside their house, and everybody slept outside. So, like camping trip, but it's institutionalized, and everybody in the country is doing it. And so that's what the Feast of Tabernacles was. They literally just went out and they slept in tents. And so it gives us a bit of an idea of what's going on here. So the Feast of Tabernacles, verse 3. His brothers therefore said to him, "Depart from here and go into Judea, that your disciples also may see the works that you are doing. For no one does anything in secret while he himself seeks to be known openly. If you do these things, show yourself to the world." Look what verse 5 says. For even his brothers did not believe in him. And so his brothers are actually giving him a hard time. They're like, "Hey, Jesus, you think you're so awesome. Maybe you should go do something public. Forget this hiding thing. Forget staying at home in your old bedroom like you could do that, Mr. Celebrity Man. Why don't you go out to Judea? Why don't you go on tour? Why don't you go show everybody just how incredible you are?" They're really giving him a hard time. What's amazing to me isn't that his brothers didn't believe in him. What's amazing to me is that later on they did. You get to the book of Acts, and you get James, who was the pastor of the church at Jerusalem. We talked about James briefly this morning, and what do we say he was? Jesus' little brother, right. The guy who wrote the book of James, that's the same guy who's given Jesus a hard time here. The guy who wrote the book of Jude in the New Testament, yeah, that was Jesus' little brother. Same guy giving Jesus a hard time here. They didn't believe in him initially, which is not hard to say. You come home one day, hey, guys, I'm the Messiah. Oh, that's nice. Okay, can you pass the jelly? It just wouldn't go over well, and it didn't, go over well. Then Jesus said to them, my time has not yet come, but your time is always at hand, is always ready. The world cannot hate you, but it hates me because I testify of it that its works are evil. Hint, hint, guys, you're part of the world. You can hate me, but, your works are the ones that are evil. For I am not yet going unto this feast, for my time has not yet fully come. When he had said these things, he remained in Galilee. And so they're up in Galilee, they're up north. Jerusalem is south, 120 odd miles or so. And people are heading down to the feast. And he's like, I'm not going, I'm staying, in a semi-secluded place here because my time isn't come. And you're going to run across that a lot, especially in the book of John, but in other places in the Gospels as you read about the life of Christ. And I hope you do actually every once in a while outside of church crack your Bible and take a look at some of the words inside it. That's called reading. But you will find that construction, my time has not yet come. What Jesus was saying is there is a time that is coming for me. They want to kill me, and that time is coming, but that time is not yet. And so Jesus was constantly going, yep, the time's not right yet, the time's not right yet. The time will become right at some point, and I will go ahead and die, but the time's not right yet. Did God have a sense of what time things needed to happen? Absolutely. So that's the hard time they give him. They ended up going, and a little bit later, Jesus kind of sneaks down to the feast. After everybody kind of goes, he kind of heads down there. And people start wandering around. They start looking, hey, is he there? They start looking for him. Some people start gathering once they find him. They begin listening to him. If we jump down to verse 25, now some of them came from Jerusalem, says, is this not he whom they seek to kill? Hey, isn't this the guy that all the religious leaders hate and want to kill? Answer is? Yes, he is. Good. Some of you are paying attention. But look, he speaks boldly, and they say nothing to him. Do the rulers know indeed that this is truly the Christ? Now, that had to have really set some people on edge, don't you think? They hate him. They want to kill him. And the people are going, wow, he's here talking and nobody's arresting him. Maybe they know he's really the Messiah. Is that what they knew? No, more probably. They didn't know he was there because he wasn't being real public about it. So we continue on. Verse 27, this gets crazy. However, we know where this man is from, but when the Christ comes, no one knows where he is from. Now, let me ask you this. If you are a person, are you from somewhere? Right, makes sense, right? If you're a person, you're from somewhere. Where are you from? Just spark it out. Where are you from? Earth. Okay, that's a good start. No Gallifreyans here. Good. The U.S., that's even better, I think, because I'm from there. Where are you from? Okay, without being too biological, right? But what town are you from? Bellingham. From Bellingham, from Rentham. I'm from South Carolina. Hi. From ways away from here. That's where I was born, in South Carolina. Other than that, I'm from Rentham because it's the closest place to being from anywhere I'm from. Here's a question. How many of you know who, let's see, Michael Jordan is? Is that too old a reference probably for you guys? Yeah. How about Shaq? Too old? Let's see, who else could we say? How about those really incredibly talentless people that are in the boy bands? Say One Direction. Anybody know where they're from? Yeah, I know. We could equally hate on them, can't we? And I just lost half our viewing audience of 2. They're from somewhere, right? Everybody's from. So let me ask you, does it make sense that the people would look at Jesus and they go, yeah, but we know where this guy's from, but when Messiah comes, nobody's going to know where he's from. It's like the Messiah is called the doctor, and he just steps out of a blue box, and nobody knows where he's from. Is that Jesus? No. What gave them that idea that they wouldn't know where Jesus is from? In fact, we talk about it every year at Christmas time, right? Pilate's, or not Pilate, what's his name there? Mad Hatter that was running the place. Yeah, Herod was there, and he comes over to the Jewish religious leaders, and he says, "Where is Messiah going to be from?" And what do they say? How many Christmases have you heard this? Think about it. Herod, the wise men come in, and the wise men come to Herod, and they say, "Hey, where is he who's born King of the Jews?" And Herod's like, "Hello, King of the Jews." And they're like, "No, the one that was just born." He's like, "Hello, no babies." "No, the King of the Jews." And so Herod goes to the Jewish leaders and he says, "Where is this King of the Jews going to be born?" Anybody remember what they said? Did they have an answer? Did they even have to think about it? Yes. They go, "Oh, you know what? It's written that he'll be born in Bethlehem." Did they know where he was going to be born? Yeah. They didn't even have to think about it. It's not like, "Oh, let us consult the scrolls and we'll come back and see you, Herod." It was just like, "Oh, yeah, he's going to be born in Bethlehem. We know this." That's like an easy question. Thanks. Love the layup questions, don't you? And so Herod knew. They absolutely knew where Messiah was going to be from. So why in the world did they think that they didn't know where Messiah was going to be from when the Bible told them where Messiah was going to be from? I have absolutely no idea. Dumb people do dumb things. That's what I can tell you. How's that sound? And so the crowd has this reaction. They don't know. Let's skip down to verse 32. So the Pharisees enter the picture again. They heard that the crowd murmuring these things concerning him. They heard people going, well, maybe they think that he's the boss. Maybe they think he's Messiah. Suddenly they go, oh, he's here, and people think we're not doing enough, and so maybe we believe in him, so let's take care of that. And so the Pharisees and the chief priests sent officers to take him. So the Pharisees, the religious leaders, there was a guard that guarded the temple, and so they had this quasi military police thing going on. And so they said to the guard, they're like, "You go out and go arrest Jesus." How'd that work out, you think? Luke, do you think it worked? No. Jesus did die on a cross, but not yet. So they get there, and Jesus is talking, and Jesus is teaching, and guess what the officers don't do? So far, no arresting. Let's drop down to verse 40. Then many of the crowd, when they heard him saying, said, "Truly, this is the prophet." Others said, "This is the Christ." People in the crowd were like, wow, as we listen to him speak, we think this is the Messiah. But some said, "Will the Christ come out of Galilee? Has not the scripture said that the Christ comes from the seed of David and from the town of" where? Bethlehem, where David was. Now, how can you know where Messiah is from and not know where Messiah is from? Right, dumb people do dumb things, right? That's about all we can try, because on the one hand, they're like, we have no idea where Messiah is coming from. And they're like, wait a minute, this dude's from Galilee? If you look in the Bible, Messiah doesn't come from Galilee. He comes from Bethlehem. We know where Messiah is from. Sounds like they might be confused just a little bit. Are you confused? I'm confused. Now here's a question for you. Where was Jesus from? How about his planet Earth address? Okay, here was the confusion. Ready? Oh, you got it? Heaven, thank you. Cece, you don't know. You're just raising your hand, stretching it out. Good. Here's the problem. Jesus was from Galilee. That's where he lived. But that's not where he was born. He was born in Bethlehem, and he was from Bethlehem. But did anybody stop to ask him, "Hey, where were you born, bud?" Or did they just say, "Hey, you're from Galilee, you can't be Messiah, because Messiah is going to be born in Bethlehem"? And so for want of a pivotal fact that they could have asked, they could have walked up, "Hey, Jesus, where were you born?" "Well, I was born in Bethlehem." Problem solved. Did they ask the question? No. Or did they just assume that he was always from where he was currently from? How many of you are always from where you're currently from? Now, I know some of you younger folk are. But where am I from? South Carolina. Have I always been where I'm currently from? Or did I used to be from someplace else? Okay, so it's not that hard to imagine. I'm not that strange. I realize a little bit, but not that bad. And so for want of a pivotal piece of information that they could have asked and didn't, they had no idea who Jesus was. Oh, so there was a division in verse 43. There was a division among the people because of him. Now, some of them wanted to take him, but no one laid hands on him. All of the guys who were there to arrest him had heard this whole exchange. And after it was all done, some people were convinced he was the Messiah. Some people were convinced that he was crazy. But nobody was going to lay hands on him because they were convinced that he was something. And so he goes back. They go back to the religious leaders. Verse 45, the officers came to the chief priests and Pharisees, who said to them, why have you not brought him? Hey, we sent you to arrest him. Why didn't you bring him back with you? You ever done that? You go into a room to get something and you walk back and you forgot it? I remember one time I went to the store to get milk. I got movies, I got ice cream, I got cookies. I got home, guess what I didn't have? Milk. I had to go back out. Yeah, just once. For that particular thing, you'd think of buying Oreos that I'd realized I needed milk. But hey, so, every once in a while we do that. So the guys who were sent to arrest Jesus, they come back, and guess what? No Jesus. And so the religious leaders were like, hey, didn't we send you to arrest him? Verse 46, the officers answered, no man ever spoke like this man. Then the Pharisees answered them, are you deceived? Have any of the rulers of the Pharisees believed in him? But this crowd that does not know the law is accursed. So here's what the religious leaders thought of their followers. They're a bunch of idiots, and they are accursed because they don't know the law. You ever met anybody who knew things and was proud because they knew stuff, and they treated you like stupid because you just didn't happen to know the same stuff they knew? There might be a lesson in that for some of us. Nicodemus in verse 50. The one who came to Jesus by night being one of them. So you remember John chapter 3? A guy came to Jesus by night to talk. It was a guy named Nicodemus. Same Nicodemus. He was a Pharisee, remember? So Nicodemus said to them in verse 51, does our law judge a man before it hears him and knows what he is doing? They answered and said to him, are you also from Galilee? Search and look, for no prophet has arisen out of Galilee. Guess what the religious leaders didn't know? They didn't know where Jesus was from either. Is that one of the stupidest points you've ever heard about having a conflict about? Now, probably some of you have had dumber ones, and so it's not so big a deal. But here's the deal. The crowd didn't know who Jesus was, and they were hinging that lack of knowledge on a simple fact that was easily discoverable. The crowd could have simply asked, hey, Jesus, where are you from? The religious leaders, the educated people, the smart people, theoretically, the ones who had been trained, did not believe Jesus was Messiah. And what was the primary reason that they chose to say they didn't believe Jesus was Messiah? Because he was from Galilee. It all hinged on a fact that they could have easily investigated. But they just took it at face value. They just assumed. Nicodemus is like, guys, you have not done your homework yet. We have not really heard him. We have not really investigated him. We don't know much about him. And what do they say to Nicodemus? Well, are you one of his followers? Well, truth be told, yeah, he kind of was, actually. But for want of a simple fact that they could have looked up, they didn't believe he was the Messiah. They didn't enter into relationship with him. Here's a question. You know anybody like that? Who could follow Jesus and maybe even would follow Jesus, but for want of a simple fact that's easily discoverable, they don't, and they aren't. Do you know people like that? I bet you do. I'd be willing to bet that you know people just like that, because people like that live all over around us, Lillian. All around us, people live like that. Luke, sit down. Who's going to provide those key facts to them? Luke will. Luke absolutely will. He's volunteering. He's hoping something, but I'm going to cut him off. No, don't hope anything. It's good. I hope you tell people. How many of you know Jesus? He did die on the cross in our place for our sins. Very good. You know, there's a lot of people around you that don't know that. And for lack of one little fact that's easily discoverable, they never come into relationship with him. You and I are to be the ones who fill in those small details for him. So don't let the people around you not know him just simply because you haven't told them the little things. Okay? Agreed? Good?